Hello, everyone. So our presentation today is just to talk a little bit about how we set up and operationalized sort of a semi-mobile virtual reality setup in the absence of dedicated physical space. So I know that a lot of libraries may have some VR technology or are interested in investing in VR technology, but you probably don't have a dedicated space to set it up in. So hopefully this will be useful to you in learning about how we achieve that in our library. Thanks. So Jed and I work in the Taylor Family Digital Library, which is the central library at the University of Calgary. That library opened up in 2011, and from the get-go, we had a lot of technology in the building, a lot of specialized rooms to support technology services. And one of those spaces was a film preview room. So it's about a 35-meter square room, and we had two of them. They weren't being utilized super well, so we turned one of them into a room scale virtual reality space. And that's been open for a number of years now. However, that space was a windowless, locked, soundproof room. And so we weren't quite ready to let undergraduate students have the run of that space. So since it opened a couple of years ago, we've reserved its use for faculty and graduate students. So it kind of limits our ability to reach a lot of members of the campus community. At the same time, we did have an Oculus Rift that wasn't being well used because we didn't have a space to set it up. So to address this problem, we set up sort of a semi-mobile cart in the library that used existing open library space and equipment for a second VR implementation. We did this on a minimal budget using existing equipment where possible. And Jed is going to tell you about how he did that.
So the space where it's set up is in Lab Next. It's our digital scholarship center. The main reason we chose the specific location in Lab Next is it's directly across from our service desk, so it has good lines of sight, and it also has a large open area, so we could still do room scale. Most of the technology and furniture in the space in Lab Next is also on wheels, so it was very easy for us to reconfigure the space and then put it back when the cart isn't being used. Yeah, it's also quite close to the existing or the other virtual reality studio, so when we do tours or other class projects, we can actually double our capacity and service larger groups. So the main goal of the cart was minimal capital expenditure. It seems to be kind of a theme for many of my projects. So almost all the money was spent on building a second PC to drive the Oculus Rift, which we already had, and then a third sensor because we did want to do room scale virtual reality. The cart was actually a surplus cart, which originally was used for a mobile DJ mixing station, which I think was used 0 times in the history of the library. So we removed it, and we actually, when we built the cart, we'd already kind of come up with a homebrew security solution for it, which was actually old bookends to secure the DJ station. So I managed to even recycle those, and we used those to secure the PC within the cart because it is just a stand-up mid-tower chassis. And then the cart itself is also physically locked just to reduce the probability, we'll say, of component theft, as well as just any accidental damage to any of the cabling inside. So the exterior, because of that, because you can't get physically to the computer, we added an arcade button on the side, which is also illuminated, so when you're troubleshooting, you can tell whether or not the PC is on. Everything else we were able to do with the 3D printer. So all of the grommets, where there's also, you can't see in this picture, but on the back there's like a hook for the cable, which we plug in. All of those were 3D printed during downtime on our 3D printer. So, yeah. It's kind of difficult to see in the picture, but at the top right, you can see the third sensor for the Oculus. So that's permanently mounted on top of one of the workroom doors. The cart itself is placed in a fairly specific space on the wall, and that actually just ensures that the boundaries for the room scale are consistent. And then in between uses, we also changed out the carpet tiles on the floor to just be a different color, so that helps delineate the space for the people who aren't in VR, so that they know sort of where the boundaries are for our user. And yeah, I believe that's pretty much it. The wall also wheels forward, so it kind of creates like a third wall, and then it's driven on a different PC, but we run streaming software on the cart, so we can actually push the virtual reality view pretty much anywhere in the building, but we often put it to those 6 TVs there just to try and attract new users and let them know what's going on the other side of the TV.
Yeah, having the VR projected on some kind of a screen or a large monitor, I think if you're implementing VR in a library, it's a really useful feature because oftentimes users don't know how to navigate a virtual space, and having some help from someone outside of the VR goggles can be really helpful. So actually both of our VR implementations, we have screens or monitors so that Jed or someone else can help the person along with what they're doing, which is really helpful. So I'll just talk a little bit about some of the implementation that we've done since implementing this cart. So we use LibApp's SpringShare for all of our bookings, and we're using the equipment module within SpringShare. So we just added the Oculus cart as a piece of equipment within SpringShare. Students, any student or any member of our campus community can book the cart. Access to it is mediated by one of our student staff members who can get them set up and give them a quick orientation to using the Oculus equipment if they've never done it before. We've also had some interesting work with our liaison community in different areas. So we've done anatomy labs using a free anatomy app called ShareCare. We've done some work with some of our fine arts and media librarians around sculpting in Medium. And one of the more recent things that we're just piloting this fall is like an artist in residence opportunity. So we're doing that with some of our liaison librarians in drama, music, architecture, planning, where we're trying to recruit students who have an interest in VR to come in, learn a little bit about the technology from Jed, take a bunch of time to practice, and then hopefully showcase what they produce somehow within the library on our digital signage, for example. And on Friday afternoons, we've been doing just drop-in fun VR, where we let students play whatever they like. They've been doing pinball recently, pinball tournaments. You can come and shoot zombies if you like. So we've just been doing pretty much anything to get people into the space, using the equipment, and get familiar with it. So that's it from us. We're happy to take questions. Thank you.